Hey folks, Johnny Yarbrough here. I'm excited about today's video because what we're going to be talking about is APIs, which is not usually a reason that someone gets as excited as I am right now, but I found a really great way to explain this and I wanted to share it with you guys. I am certainly not an expert on APIs. I am not an IT guy. And I frankly didn't even know what an API stood for. So I did a bunch of research and I found this really great example of what an API is and an oversimplified way to explain it. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. If this is something that you like, please like the video, subscribe to it. I'm going to be putting out a lot more stuff like this because look, I want you guys to understand what's going on, the technology, the resources that people are putting into things. Every time I'm on a call with a carrier or MGA, we're talking about APIs. Either is it something that they should be connecting to? Is it something they should be building? What is it? And so I came up with this. I didn't come up with it. I found this really great example of what that is. Again, I hope that this really helps. So basically what an API is, if you look it up, it stands for Application Programming Interface, which doesn't really tell you anything about what an API is. And if you go into a bunch of articles and you're not an IT person, it's going to get even more confusing. So let's talk about what an API is real quick because it doesn't have to be confusing. It's actually extremely simple. So an API is basically everything that you're dealing with on the internet. Every time you request something that's being hosted somewhere else and it sends you back data or information, that's happening via API. And this can happen on so many different types of platforms, so many different types of websites, in so many different ways, which I think is probably why it seems to be so confusing. But the example that I saw here, which is just brilliant, is basically this. If you are in a restaurant, you've got your menu, you see what you like on the menu, and you want to order it. So instead of you walking to the kitchen and letting them know what to cook, you probably have a waiter that comes to your table and says, hey, what would you like? And then you say, I want this steak and here's how I want it cooked. And then they take it back to the kitchen. And then the chef, who's got all the ingredients and they know how to cook it and they got all the tools and they got all that stuff, they prepare it. And then they give it back to the waiter. The waiter brings it to your table and you enjoy it. That waiter is the API. That's it. It's really as simple as that. And so to kind of apply that to the insurance world, you're the chef in the kitchen if you are a carrier or MGA and you've got the pen on a program and you have all the rating information. You know what kind of underwriting guidelines need to be completed. You know what it's going to take in order to produce a quote, or if something is going to produce a quote. But sometimes that process either is going to take a very long time because someone's filling out an application the best they can, it's incomplete, they send it, then you're working back and forth with them to collect more information. This may go on for days, and then they find out either this is too expensive, this is not going to fit, our appetite guide, this has been declined, whatever it might be. And it's a very frustrating process. So people have been building out these APIs so that they can communicate with either the insured or the retail agent as effectively as possible. And most of the time, this ends up turning into instant information. So as someone's filling out a form online, they could get instant information about what kind of rates you have, if this meets your underwriting guidelines. If not, what kind of information do they need to provide to you? Any kind of follow-up questions, rating information, real-time quotes even, and even through the binding and issuance of that policy can all happen in one place without them having to go back and forth or a ton of human interaction and certainly no manual entry. So what's really interesting is a lot of folks have been building out these kind of calculators and things on some sort of interface that's exclusive to them. So this might be an agent-facing portal where an agent goes into your website, they complete all this information, and they go page after page after page, and maybe they get a quote at the end, or it tells them it's been declined. And that's super cool, except for that agent's having to do that for every single market that they're going to. So platforms like Appulate and other folks are creating these ecosystems where an agent can go into one place, and from there, reacting with your APIs. And this is just so cool. This is kind of like going to Expedia and saying, I want to go to Atlanta and I want to fly there. You're not having to go to every single website that's out there that offers flights. You can do it all in one place, and then you're getting all this information from all these different places, and that's all happening via API. So if you guys even have an agent portal and you're doing some of this stuff, don't throw away the idea, because there is so much more to that. And what we're finding is that it's creating more submission activity. When an agent can go into one place and they're used to it and it's standardized and everything makes sense, and they can put their information in one time and get a bunch of information back from all their different markets. This is huge, and they want to work with markets that do this. So this is why everybody's talking about it, and this is why everybody's putting a lot of money into it, because when we see this, we see about a 245% increase in submission activity just because it's easy to deal with you. And on top of that, if you're someone who cares about personal relationships and personal levels of service, but you're afraid that technology like this is going to take it away, well, don't fear, because we have a lot of folks that have built out these APIs. And imagine all the time savings that exist because you're not having to do all this underwriting and quoting on your back-end system manually and then sending it back out, but it's all happening in real time. This leaves you more time to actually have those personal relationships and offer better service. It just decreases the amount of time doing something that we could just do instantaneously that we don't have to do manually. So this is why it's so cool. But I did want to just share that with you because, man, that really helped me out a lot. And I hope it did for you too. And don't forget, if you do like stuff like this, please like and subscribe because I look forward to the next video. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend.